agenda, and we'll try to adhere to our agenda as carefully as we can. Should we have any additions or subtractions, we'll let you know as we go. I'm going to ask Supervisor Williams, if you will, open us up to prayer this morning.
Let us pray. Our Father in heaven, we come before you this morning thanking you for your goodness towards us. We thank you how you have preserved the life and safety of people in Oktibbeha County in light of various storms and heavy winds. And not only our county, but counties all over Mississippi and all over this United States. We thank you for your watchful eye that you have given us throughout this time. We pray, oh Father, that we will be able to serve on this board and be able to serve well. That we will make you proud that we have been selected to be a board member of this particular county. Now, Father, we thank you for each and every member. We pray for their families, and we pray as they will continue to serve on this board, that they will make decisions that are pleasing to your sight and that are helpful towards the continuing development of Oktibbeha County. We thank you for those individuals who decide to serve as we approach Veterans Day. We pray, oh Father, that those individuals will be recognized for their service. Father, and this is our prayer. We pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. First item of business is the approval of the 2019 October board orders. What's the pleasure of the board on those board orders? Silence is consent.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion by Supervisor Bell, second by Supervisor Howard. Are there any questions concerning the motion? All those in favor, let it be known by the public vote. Motion passes unanimously. Next item of business is citizen comment period. Are there any citizens here this morning that would like to approach the board for up to 3 minutes? You may come forward at this time. I think Dr. Rogers jumped up first.
Okay.
And then
Good morning.
Good morning.
Dr. Rogers.
I'm glad to be here this morning, and I just have a couple items I want to make you aware of. But first of all, I want to say I appreciate the work that you're doing on Longview Road, and we're very proud that we're gonna eventually get started with that road. But I'm a little concerned about the debris that's on the road bordering Highway 25. I don't see any signs, caution signs. I don't see any flaggers out there, and to me, it's accident waiting to happen. I would appreciate if you could take care of the debris that's on the road. There's logs on the road, there's large limbs, all of this stuff is happening. And this morning as I came out, there was newspapers scattered all over the place, so it's becoming a dumping ground, and it will become a dumping ground. So I would appreciate if you could help us with that down on the road so that we don't have any accidents that will occur. Also, when I'm not here, I like to monitor the board meetings, and I appreciate you doing the video, but we can't hear the voice. There's no voice on it that you can hear and understand. And I'm wondering what is the purpose of it if you can't hear the voice, or you can't hear what you all as members are saying. So if you could work with me on that, I would appreciate it. Thank you for the opportunity.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Have a great day. Ms. Harris.
Good morning.
Good morning, Ms. Harris.
I just came to publicly thank everyone for all the work that you've done, and to publicly thank Mr. Williams for all the work that he's done in his district, specifically Blackjack. And we hope the work continues, and for all those that are running in tomorrow, I wish you all well and continued success in all the progress that you've done. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Harris.
And the rocks that was supposed to be behind the church, they're working on that this month.
Working on it. Okay.
All right, thank you.
That's the voting precinct.
Yes, sir.
For the voting precinct.
Right.
That's what she mentioned.
Okay.
Yeah, approved for the voting precinct.
Right, they were working on it this morning as I was coming here.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, thank you for coming. Is there anyone else that would like to approach the board? You may come forward at this time. If not, we'll move right along to, road manager report. I'm assuming Mr. Baggett is in route. I know our road manager report is in our packet. What we can do, we can go to our next item, which is Mr. Livingston. Do you have any chance your clerk did?
The only thing I have is that we didn't have a CD for October, and the funds remain at 2.819% at Citizens Bank.
For acknowledgement and approval.
Motion by Supervisor Williams, second by Supervisor Montgomery. Are there any questions concerning the motion? All those in favor, let it be known by the appropriate vote sign. Motion passes unanimously.
That's all I have.
Moving right along to county business administration, Ms. Gary.
I wrote down in your paper. And, Mr. Morgan sent one more over this morning to, one of his employees got their certification, so they will allow a little more money.
You have payroll changes in your packet with the addition of the one that Mr. Morgan sent
No,
back.
they don't have the one from Mr. Morgan.
Okay.
That's for a raise.
Some certification, there's some classes. I'll make a motion for approval. I see it.
Got a motion by Supervisor Montgomery. Second by Supervisor Howard. Are there any questions
Yeah,
concerning the
I
motion?
have a question.
Question.
When we have individual certification, I'm wondering if that necessarily means that that person get a raise because of certification.
Yes, it does, for the tax office.
Plus the tax office themselves.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And no more questions.
Not all those in favor, let it be known by the appropriate vote sign. Motion passes unanimously.
Second thing in your packet is, the first quarter budget allocation to the jail, sheriff, and tax office.
Motion for approval.
Motion by Supervisor Williams, second by Supervisor Montgomery. Are there any questions concerning the motion? All those in favor, let it be known by the appropriate vote sign. Motion passes unanimously.
We had two invoices without a purchase order to Rogers Group, and it's because, one driver, instead of going to one vendor, he went to, another vendor. And so I need a permission to pay these invoices. The purchase order was made out to one company, but the driver didn't go to that company.
To the wrong company.
He went to another company.
What kind of drive?
Truck
To
driver.
get,
To get what?
stones.
No, yeah, watch stone, watch gravel. Motion for approval.
Second.
Motion by Supervisor Williams, second by Supervisor Howard. Are there any questions concerning the motion? All those in favor, let it be known by the appropriate vote sign. Motion passes unanimously.
House-to-house waste services. Need to get your, put house count verified back to me so we can get those added to the rows. And, still at the point where I need to know if we can start charging the property owner as opposed to the renter. We stalled this until this board meeting.
I think that we need to do something before we change the policy to let the landowners know.
We will,
And I think this needs to be a card mail out, because you're fixing to, put a fee on the property owner that they may not have written in their contract. And I think there needs to be some time for them to make adjustments in those rental agreements, before we start taxing or even considering taxing the landowner for a fee that they have not been collected. I think that needs to be individually sent, if there's some way to work through the, Alan's office to see who those property owners are, that have rental property, and address them individually, I think, and then I think they need ample time, to make sure that they are addressing this in their rental agreement before we move forward and put this additional cost on them. That's my opinion.
Do we need to have a public hearing?
I would think so.
I don't know if a public hearing's required, I know we have to publish it in the newspaper.
Well, I think a public hearing would just, increase the awareness of what's going on. I think that we need to do that too, but I also think that we need to send out some type of look and see what it costs to send out cards. And let these people know individually, not just depend on just, an ad in the newspaper to let these landowners know that they're fixed to be responsible for additional funds.
I think we're gonna do a mail out, right? We're not planning on doing a mail out, I think so. I agree with you.
Right.
Go ahead.
What I think should be noted, that no building is gonna change according to the waste management board. The new building is gonna start January the 1st. So everything's gonna stay the same, in other words, until January the 1st, and that's the way you understood it in the meeting.
That's correct. I think Supervisor Miller, about how much time are you proposing that we?
Well, I understand that it's supposed to change January 1st, but I think a lot of these people are probably in mid-year contracts. And so they need to have the time to go back and address those rental agreements, because now they're gonna be responsible, the landowner's gonna be responsible instead of the renter. So I think that we need to give them, some time. I understand it's gonna be some additional costs that the county may incur. When you divide that out by all of the ones that are collected, you wonder how many cents that actually is on each person. But I think that there needs to be some additional time for
Yeah.
people to make adjustments to rental agreements, before, if we're gonna do this, before we tax the landowner with something that they have not been doing for years. You know, this is something new, that many of the landowners have not been doing, that have rental property.
And I understand that, and I'm in agreement with that, but here's the other side. The waste board, they wanted to start building Octave County this month. But we talked them into saying, listen, give us until the 1st of the year, January 1st. So we'll have time to contact the landowners and actually do a house count to make sure that the number that's being proposed is the correct number to be billed for. You know, I think we're gonna have to work this thing to let the property owner know, okay, the tenant will still be responsible for the bill up until a certain point. But at that point, then they will become responsible. And I understand what you're saying, just to drop it on them. I don't know how long Ms. Emily, how long will it take to do a mail out and then publish it in the newspaper and?
Well, do we know what it costs when, you know, the tax, when Alan sends out all the little postcards, do we know what that costs to send a postcard to, you know, all of the landowners when he sends out your tax bill? You know, if we could do something simple, something like that.
Yeah,
And a notification in the mail, but, you know, I think that we need to give them ample time for them to make some, adjustments.
I
do understand. My other concern is, in working with the waste board, and y'all have done a great job on that, but you know, there's some other things on that contract that, again, we're taking responsibility for, which is delivering the cans, those types of things, which in the contract says their responsibility, it's their responsibility. So this is just an additional responsibility on the board of something that, you know, I would think that they would definitely work with us and give us a little more time, because in some areas, they're not upholding their end of the contract.
Well, I mean, I do get that, I get that, but I don't know, you know, Joe and I will vote to extend, but I think it's gonna be a majority vote. I'm pretty sure it's gonna be a majority vote to start building Octave County January 1st.
So they gonna have to.
Right, their account was 19,000 and something, Miss Emily's account was 18,000. And they agreed to go with the 18,000 number, but they did want us to verify, and I'm gonna ride next Friday with the truck myself and count every garbage can to verify how many houses they are picking up in District 3. And however we need to do it, we need to verify the number in each district. Each supervisor needs to verify their number, so we will be sure that we're being billed. Here's a couple
You got to
things.
realize, all these pictures that we gave y'all to look at, those are individual residences that are not being billed.
So, which means we're losing money.
Yeah,
Occidental County is
Yeah.
losing money.
$8.12 a month per.
no, $13 a month.
The
They
only
are
thing
not
that
being billed.
I would like to see on, and I've talked with Mary Ann and had a good conversation with her last Friday, would be, in other words, what we got in our packet a couple of meetings ago, and it showed the count that they got. I would like it broken down, instead of, there's 1,321 houses on this route, is to have it more broken down, like, you know, Main Street's got 62 houses, you know, Peach Street's got 47 houses, you know, 2 businesses. But, you know, it would say from this street to that street, it didn't show what streets they were covering. And I told her that that's,
Started their route to the
I would
end.
like it more detailed, because if they're the ones that we're paying the bill to, then, and we're the payer, or payee, or payer, whatever you wanna call it, we pay to them. I would like for them to get a more detailed, you know, house count to us. That way I don't feel like we're getting an inaccurate count, that we're paying out more than we possibly should be. And I think we can come to an agreement. I think we're working a lot better now with them, but that would be the one thing that I would like to see.
What about the possibility of them going through and picking up the cans that are not being paid, and then when people call back in, we get them, you know, at that point? And I'm just asking, you know, why not, when they're riding down the road, if they see a can, and they have the list, and they say, well, this one's not paying, why not pick that can up? Because you know that constituent's gonna call you that next week and say, they picked my garbage can up. And then we can put them on the roll. We can say, well, you have got to start paying your bill to get your garbage picked up.
Well, I asked her that. They don't really have access to the billing,
Right.
because the PDD
Right.
does. And, that was
Is there
her.
not some kind of data system that could be put in the truck?
Well, I think and I get what you're saying, but I think we keep making this too complicated. When we go back and say, well, you need to do a different way of counting, a better way, a more detailed, they probably gonna say, well, listen, we did our count, we're comfortable with our numbers. Now it's up to you all to go do your count and get comfortable with your numbers and let's compare. Again, they had 19,000 or something, Miss Emily's got 18,000, they agreed, we'll go with 18,000, but we gonna start building. We're not gonna keep waiting and putting it off and putting it off. We got them to wait until January 1st. So now it's incumbent upon us to go out and find out how many houses in your district, get the number. So before they start building, we can say, okay, now this is what we got, this is what you got, and we feel comfortable with our number. And then.
The count is there.
Right.
The count is there. We have had the benefit of not having to pay for that count for 5, 6, 7 years.
Right.
And now we're gonna have to start paying for it.
And we're gonna have to start charging
We
our
have to
customers
charge
so we can recoup that money that
That is
we're
correct.
gonna end up paying. I mean, it's, you know, and I agree, there are some other little things in that contract that needs tweaking, and we can continue to work on that, but right now that we need to get a count to make sure Occidental County is not being charged more than what it should be, but at the same time, make sure we're charging the people that need to be paying.
I do understand that. We're just making a big change from the renters to the resident owners being responsible for it now. And I think that they all need adequate time to adjust contracts, and to understand that. So I think there needs to be some type of, strong output of public awareness that this is going to happen, and some time for them to make some changes in rental agreements, and for them to ask any questions before we start charging the landowner.
And I agree, but, and like I said, what's gonna have to take place is, it's gonna have to be a conversion. We can continue collecting like we're collecting. Right now, what we're talking about is people that's not even paying. You know, right now, your apartment residents should be paid. So we can continue that, but give that landowner, property owner, enough time to say, hey, listen, this is the way it is right now, but at this date, it's gonna switch. But we need to concentrate on those 1,800 that's not paying right now, because we fixing to start getting charged for those 1,800.
A lot of those, if you look on those pictures that we gave you, it lists who the owner of that is. And that's who we gonna bill, is who the owner is. We don't even know if some of those properties are rental properties.
Right.
But
Right.
didn't we also, didn't y'all bring it to the board too, that even if the house is not being rented, that there's going to be a trash bill assigned to it?
No, if it's got a meter. I think that's how we'll
Active
determine
water
it,
or
right.
electric meter.
Active water or electrical meter.
That's state law.
Yeah, that's the law, that it has to be billed.
I think we need to keep in mind, however, that when we bill the landowner, the landlord, we bill an 80% occupancy.
Correct.
So you got a 20%.
It depends on what type of complex it is.
Yeah.
You've got people that, own one house and rent it.
Well, you know, that wouldn't be 80% occupancy. But you talking about apartment complex, that's 80% occupancy.
Most of those big
So-
apartment complexes, we don't build, they've got their commercial
But
accounts.
according to Mary Ann over there, she said if there were a landowner who owned 5 or 6 or 8 or 10, whatever units, that she was comfortable with billing that landowner at 80%.
Yeah, 80%, that's what,
And I'm
other
kinda
counties.
I'm with Supervisor Miller, is there does need to be a transitional period. In other words, here in Oklahoma County, you know, the big rental months, April, May, June, and that's something on our part that we can control, when it goes from the renter to the landowner. I think that's the way that we need to do it, to be fair to our county, to be able to collect when a lot of times these renters, they come and they go.
She
But,
said that their big property owners will call them and let them know each month what their rent.
correct. But I still think, and I'll stick to this, is I still feel it's incumbent on Waste Services to come up with a count for us customers. That's just the way it's done in business. But I mean, when I say a count, I mean a more accurate count, a count that's not as, it's just from Oktok Road to Poorhouse Road, there's 1,321 units that we're billing for. You know, something that's more detailed.
And I'm not aware of this,
It's
do
not
they
asking
have,
too
do they
much.
have GPS, you know, in their trucks where they, you know, where they know, or do they just drive down the road and say, okay, if there's a garbage can, I'm gonna pick it up?
Yeah, they're measuring they're counting the garbage cans that they pick up, the garbage that they pick up at that house.
Can that they pick up at the dock.
If they pick garbage up at that house, they counting that as a person that should be paying.
And John, I understand that transitional period, but
No, I'm
you
saying
gotta
on our
understand that
part.
Oktibbeha County is gonna have to be eating that until that transitional period takes place.
$14,000.
Per month.
That's a
Per
lot of-
month. We
that's a
will
lot
have
of
to be
money.
the one to eat that cost until that transitional period takes place.
That's right, that's a lot of money.
Yeah, and I get what you're saying. That's why I still feel that it's incumbent on them to give us that count. So we can, it'd be more easy to compare what we're missing from the data that they've got. That's just I think that'd be a way for us to work together that would,
But
it'd
all
fit
I'm asking
everything.
y'all for is
Divided
to,
by
To-
how many
to
cans?
go out and count your garbage.
7,600, is
You
go
could put it
over
on the
that,
route guide.
go over those sheets, because those are the
Well,
ones
that,
we're not
they did.
doing for.
I understand what you're saying,
you know,
but
maybe
they
they don't
gonna
wanna-
say, they gonna say, listen, we've counted, we're comfortable with our count. Miss Emily's comfortable, I mean, we do got at least 1,800 that's not paying. Miss Emily's comfortable with that.
And
It's
our
we
billing-
gotta do a little something in this deal, go out and count our houses, I mean.
Well, I don't have a problem with that, I'm just saying the ones that we're already being billed for, but to just put some sort of a database that's more up to date together.
And I do understand the big number looks big for the, you know, how much it's gonna be additional, whatever it is a month, but when you divide that by the cans that we're picking up, that's $1.84 a can. So I think, you know, from my perspective, that we're missing, okay, so the big
Yeah,
number.
explain that to me again.
So the big number that we're missing, how many thousands? That we're missing, the additional amount.
It's $13 a can.
I
They're
understand.
they're gonna bill us for 1,800 and something additional customers.
Okay,
Right.
so if
Starting
you
to
take
hurt.
that amount, and
And
you divide that by what's already paying, that's $1.84 a can more that we're going to increase. And the reason I bring that up is because I think that we need to.
I'm just missing this one.
Well, I get what she's saying, what she's saying is what the
And
number
I'm
we're
not being
paying
funny,
now.
I'm not following the math on this.
The
Okay,
number
so-
we're paying now versus the number we
We'll
will
be
be
paying.
paying is gonna make it, for the number that we've got now,
How much do we pay per
$1.84
can for
more
them
per
to pick up?
customer.
$8.12.
So we're gonna be paying them $8.12 more per can
Now,
to pick it up
What
times
I'm
1,800.
asking y'all, is the sheets that we gave y'all, I gave y'all, were customers in Oktibbeha County that we're not billing.
Correct.
Now, why should they not be billed, but everybody else is getting billed?
And I don't
And
think,
they're
I
getting the
think
service.
that, I
And
think
the billing
everybody needs to be
services, they're
billed, I
going
just think we
through
need.
that right now. I went out there last week for my phone that was acting up. Anyway, the girls caught me in the billing department, and they're going through that list. They've already found several.
They can't do it until we get those numbers back from y'all and I give them to them to do.
Miss Emily, how much are we paying, eight what a can for them to pick up, $8.12?
Or
I mean,
then they've
they're
already found
happy with
300, I think
this.
it is.
But how can I challenge the
That's
number?
$14,616
Those are real records.
Per month.
per month that we will be on the hook for until we transition over.
Now, what our deal is, they're in Governor Triangle's house out there, but there might be a residence that burned down, that's no longer there. It might be, condemned, if nobody's living in it, and those are the ones we need to get rid of.
I had some constituents when we were discussing this after the last meeting that said, we still have a water meter at an old house, you know, but nobody lives there, or power meter, and that's some of the things that concern some of the constituents, is that the house is not rented, but, you know, it's a family home, but they still keep the water on, keep the electricity on, but they're not renting.
They have to pay the
State
bill.
law says if they've got a active electrical meter and water,
Electrical.
that state law says they must be billed for garbage.
But that's
not,
electricity.
that's not
They
Oktibbeha
really
County.
looking at electricity,
State law.
more so than water.
Right, right.
If you got electricity on at that house, then they gonna bill you.
But water too, though. I mean,
If that house was in the city limits, their garbage would be billed on that electrical bill.
correct.
We don't have that option in the county, we can't stick it on their electric bill. So, in essence, it's the same thing. They still gonna get a garbage bill,
Where we get them is when they come pay their tag.
tag, we owe their tag,
Right.
they're not paying their
Correct.
bill.
But I'm
And
just
I would
saying-
like to get where I'm not having to deal with that so much and fight with people about not paying their garbage bill. And if we get it on the landowners, the property owners, a lot of that will go away. It's your renters for the main part that's leaving us.
So are you gonna add that to their property taxes at the end, is that the plan?
No, we don't add to their property tax.
I mean, I'm just asking, when you bill it, or is it still gonna be billed monthly?
Yeah,
and they're just gonna get a bill in the mail.
Yeah, it's not going to be, it's not coming through the tax office to go on their property.
Well, I understand, but I'm just,
Yeah.
you know, you're talking about the tag, that all ties in.
That's the way we hold their tag now, to get them to pay on their account, if they can't get their tag.
So that would be still saying the same thing, what you're saying.
Well, it's not applied to their tax rate,
Well, I mean, as far as the recourse you have is holding the tag.
that's right.
Right now, we just need to come to agreement on the number, because they're gonna start building us for at least 1,800 cans January first.
And we don't-
Unless we come up, we come up with a count and say, well, no, it's actually 1,700 or whatever. But we need to come up with the count, cause they comfortable with that count.
And we see how much it would cost to send postcards out, like we do for your tax bills, to notify people in the county
It's gonna be the
that
same
there's gonna
as,
be a change.
it's gonna be the same as what we're paying to send the garbage bills out, they said get on a card, it'll be the same card.
That is-
20 or 9,
Well,
20 or
that's,
38
they,
cents.
yeah, they, I don't know exactly, they charge us,
Oh, they charge us.
$1 or something for sending out every card that they send out.
I would think that we need to send the cards out and then have a public hearing, so any questions could be answered. And then move forward on it, would be my suggestion. But we need to give property owners that have rental property ample time to make some changes.
Well, what we're talking is two separate things. One is, it's up to this board to decide how you wanna handle the property owners. The first and foremost is to decide, get a count by January. Actually, the vote will take place in the December meeting to start charging January first. So we need to have gotten a count by December's meeting on what we agree on that they were gonna start charging us. Now, once we get the count, it's up to this board to decide how they wanna notify and how much time you wanna give the property owner, and if the board is gonna eat this $14,000 a month until we get transition, that's a whole different deal. Right now, we need to just get an accurate count on garbage cans that's out there, people that's not paying. Right now.
Going along with, Supervisor Howard. Supervisor Howard now will present a count, whatever count you give us.
Right.
We'll present that count in December, at the
Right.
December board meeting. And then there will be an agreement between the 1,800 and whatever we come up with. And that's what the Waste Management Board will start billing us for after that.
Correct.
But now, realizing that those are two separate issues, but I still think we need to go ahead on and express our intentions as to whether or not we're going to, bill the landowner or not, so we can start making plans. Like, Supervisor Miller said, we need to start sending mail outs about our intentions and get a public hearing. But I think for now, we do need, in my opinion, some kind of motion in terms of our intentions as whether or not we're gonna build landowner or not, so we can start making plans as to how we're gonna do it.
I got no problem making the landowner, I think that would help our collection rate
Yeah, it's gonna help.
greatly. And at the same time, it's not gonna add anything to the landowner really, because they're gonna send that, I mean, it's a changing of the way you build, that's all it is, and, 2 months.
Can we go ahead and start sending the notices out now? Can I go
And when we
ahead?
get y'all,
Yeah,
the things
you
back.
gotta
We
Yeah,
can't
you
do
gotta
anything
get
till
y'all
we get y'all
first.
things back.
It's
No,
amazing they expect us to do that, that's.
I mean, we have a list of all the people that are paying trash now, and a lot of them that are paying trash also have rental property. So I would think if we send a mail out, if it's 38 cents a piece, and we say, hey, this is what we're looking at doing, you know, we can get our counts too, but it just gives people more time before January 1 to make adjustments to rental agreements.
I have a question.
Say, for example, in Orlando's district, a lot of this is out there on plantation.
That's right.
That is people that's not getting billed,
Yeah.
and this rental property, so we got to get his numbers back in, so we can send a card to the person that owns it.
And when do you think the person that owns this is gonna get a card in the mail if everybody does?
Now, if they're not in the system,
Her point is if they're not being billed, they're not gonna get notice.
Well, I understand, but a property owner
Right,
that has rental property
it's more than likely.
is more likely paying their trash bill, and then they're renting out other homes or other property and assuming that their renters are paying that bill. So this is a courtesy for the people that live in our community that have rental property. This is a courtesy to let them know that they are fixing to have to consume paying all of the trash bills for all of their rental property.
Is there a way to put a message on the bill itself, and this is a
Yes.
question, so we can do this on the bill, that
Yes.
would be no additional cost, we can go ahead and start that now, like you're saying, and then maybe do an additional one at some point if you want to, maybe that's the way to kind of approach
Yes.
this.
we do.
Right. I think too with the landowners, it's just, you're gonna be dealing with less customers too. In other
Yeah.
words, the billing,
One
it's gonna be a lot less billing. We pay so much per
A lot
customer,
of
so
it,
that
a
would be
lot
a
of it
savings
is
on our end.
where landowners has allowed family members to come out and put a mobile home on the property.
Yeah.
And nobody's paying garbage bill for it. So that's where a lot of it is. We got over 2,000 mobile homes out there that's not on the property roads.
But some of those are on their property.
So if they're on their property, then they are on the county road.
No, that's an air property,
Air property.
air property, so if it's on air property,
Bunch of family.
Oh,
you have a bunch of
okay.
families who owns it,
Yeah.
you still won't be able to hold anybody accountable.
I don't know
I know
about
somebody's
that.
gonna be paying the taxes on it, but the person that's probably paying the taxes on it, I mean,
The executor of it.
the executive, you still won't have any recourse. And then also out in Highlands, you have a lot of absentee landowners,
I know, what
you
we're
know,
gonna do.
they could care less. I mean, so what I'm saying is what we do, it may be counterproductive.
Well, let me ask you this,
I don't know, because it's gotta be productive, because we're gonna end up costing us $14,000 a
Well,
month.
I hate to say it, the only way you're gonna deal with garbage is put it on everybody's tax like another, that's all it is, you call it a tax, a fee, or whatever. Hey, just levy the tax on it and collect it and be done with it, that's the only way you're gonna be able to deal with it.
I'm picking the brain just a little bit more. Is this not a good opportunity to, reconsider bringing in the groups that we had, that we bid out? I mean, are we gonna be able to afford this as a county?
The groups that we brought in, they're gonna be charging us more than $8.12 a month.
Yeah, but they were
They
responsible
were
for
gonna be-
collecting and fixing the garbage cans and delivering them.
No, they weren't gonna be responsible for collecting.
No,
Collecting
what-
will still be the same.
It,
We can change for them to do the collecting, but it's gonna cut Rudy's organization out.
and it doesn't matter who you bring in, you still gotta have accurate
That's-
count. You still gotta know what you're being charged for. That part doesn't change.
It might be noted that other counties are billing the landowners rather than billing the renters. And that is working well for them. So that's why the recommendation came from our board. Some of the individuals that on our board made note of the fact that other counties are already billing the landowner rather than billing the particular renters.
Collecting at one higher rate.
Right, the bottom
Right,
line
they're-
is
they're
we're
getting-
losing
and
profit.
they're getting
because-
their money collected, but we're not getting ours collected, that's the bottom line.
But now, the way services is doing that billing and collecting money. See, that may be the difference, I don't know, does Rudy only collect for us, or he collects for other counties?
Just
Yeah,
us,
I believe.
I think it's just us, maybe
Choctaw.
I think us and Choctaw Webster.
Is there a consensus that y'all would like to go ahead and send a message out on this next billing?
Yes.
That there's going to be some changes? Okay, what kind of wording do we want to make that sound? And we can tinker with it, I just wanna know what y'all wanna say.
Well,
I definitely think that we need to put some notice out there that, the board is considering.
The landowner's responsibility for.
Absolutely.
Can I make that, can someone make that in the form of a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Got a motion by Supervisor Montgomery, second by Supervisor Miller. Are there any questions concerning the motion? All those in favor, let it be known by the clerk of the voting center. Motion passes.
So what is this gonna say, Rob?
All right, it's a notice to landowners for that the landowner will be responsible for billing for the garbage pickup.
And then later on, we'll give them the date of when it'll start.
But I
Yes,
think
sir.
we need a public hearing date before that, please.
You want me to put in there that there will be a public
There will
hearing
be a
within
public
that?
hearing, yes, cause I think they need to have a chance to voice their opinion.
But we need some timelines and deadlines though, because again, January first, we fixing to start getting charged for
When could-
1,800 cans.
When could we have a, public hearing on this?
What about the last weekend, the last meeting in December?
I'm just saying, if we publish correctly.
I got to find the wording and, see what the advertisement is. It's usually advertised 2 weeks and either 7 or 15 days from the second advertisement. So I've gotta check and see what it is.
Do you want to do it as soon as possible? In other words,
Yeah.
within this, just let us have the, whatever date she says, we'll plug it in.
You've got November the 18th, December the 2nd, December 16th, is that right? So I think that, we need to make sure that everybody has the opportunity, and I'll also put some stuff in the newspaper, if we can run some ads in the newspaper. So citizens have the opportunity to come up and ask questions and voice their opinions.
Okay, that deals with the transitional on our end. We still got the house count. That needs to be,
I think by that
Back.
point, we'll have it done.
okay, I'm just saying.
I mean,
don't have a problem.
I
Each
don't
supervisor needs to
see,
be
I don't
hammered
see
that
any
down.
problem with us having
Few
our
days.
districts done
You know.
by the time we have the public hearing on December the 16th.
And this will give the opportunity to have the notice, y'all be able to have a notice requirement to all of these landowners. I think it gets you in the right movement, and then by then you can have the numbers that y'all are comfortable with. And you can even discuss them during that public hearing. So this kind of puts you in a better position at that point. Okay?
I think instead of just, putting something on the landowners, I think we need to give them the opportunity to have a voice and have plenty advance notice this is going to happen.
Waste Management Board meeting will be December the 20th. That will be the third, Thursday.
So if ours is on the 16th, then
No,
we'll be
it'll
able
be
to make that
19th, I
decision at
think.
that point if we have the public hearing in front of it.
It'll be December, oh, yeah.
The third Thursday of December.
That was me because of 1916.
That would be, oh, okay. That'll be the
16th is Thursday.
17th.
Okay.
It'll be the 17th. December the 17th.
So I'm taking it, the consensus of the board is that we're going to look at charging landowners. I think I can kind of feel that consensus. I know I can feel at least three votes, or see at least 3 votes I get.
And you get a motion to that effect.
I'm just kind of
I
testing
think,
the water.
I think that we need to,
Hold the board.
for me, I think that we need to, address the landowners. I'm not ready to make a motion on it yet. I want to address the landowners. I want them to know what's about to happen. I want them to have a voice in what's going to happen. I want them to understand fully. And then after we hear from them, I think that we can understand what we need to do. And by that time, we'll have house counts too. And the other thing that when I was talking about data in the truck, because even like the spray truck has data in the truck and they know what houses are paid for. So I just wonder, how expensive it would be to put this data in this truck where they know what house they're supposed to stop at. How much would it cost to put those data systems in the truck? I don't know how much it would cost, where they actually knew what house was actually being paid for. And if it wasn't being paid for, they didn't stop and pick up the trash.
Well, data would have to be programmed into something.
Well, that-
And
that's-
that information would have to come from down at Rudy's place, so that's gonna, I mean, it could be done, it could be done, it's just gonna require purchasing of some computers and software, and then downloading the data into the software and putting it in the truck, and, you know.
Would it be too much to ask at this public hearing, and like I said, we got a lot of discussion on the table. Why not have the representatives from the billing department come to it? Why not have some representatives from the waste services come here? And where we can just hash all this out, you know what I'm saying, and that, because at the end of the day.
I've been saying this for a
Yeah,
while.
at the end of the
For a
day,
while.
that way, we're done fairly, the customers are done fairly, waste services are done fairly, everybody's on the same page. When everybody's communicating, that's when things work best.
I met with, two people from the, over Duncranger Solid Waste Services, and two people from Rudy's organization a couple of weeks ago.
How'd that go?
It went well, but it's kinda touchy, you have to be careful not to alienate everybody. And so, yeah, that's how we got, trying to figure a little of this out by we all got together and looked at it. And so, it is a good idea.
Well, I think, and I'm glad that they got together, I'd like to see them come together again and come before this board. That way we're all in the room together, and.
And we still got some questions about businesses and churches that they're building us for,
Correct.
and, the shops, that sort of stuff that needs to, we haven't got
Yeah,
clarification.
what Joe and I told them in the meeting was, we'll get a count as to what we've got, and at the same time, Ms. Emily will be working with Mary Ann, so they can hash out about building of the shops and things, so at that December meeting, we'll have all of the information before us, so we can make a decision on the number, if they are building us for shops and they shouldn't be, if they're building us for some businesses and they shouldn't be, we need to have all of that worked out and ready to go. Because January 1st, we're gonna start being charged for at least 1,800 new accounts. So,
Any more discussion on that issue? Well, moving right along to the next item here, we have.
We got a budget amendment for the sheriff's department of $5,205, that's, insurance proceeds for an accident with truck, vehicle for the deer.
So moved.
Motion by Supervisor Howard, second by Supervisor Montgomery. Are there any questions concerning the motion? All those in favor, let it be known by the clerk vote saying. Motion passes unanimously.
Several months ago, we approved easement for ceasefire for numerous roads in the county, and mainly District 4 and District 5, I believe. And they came by, want to add a couple more. So I need to order to the amendment of that.
I like the amendments, so. I see part of Beltham here and, Ridge Road, so I certainly go with the
Motion,
amendment.
Lord.
Motion by Supervisor Miller, second by Supervisor Williams. Are there any questions concerning the motion? All those in favor, let it be known by the clerk vote saying. Motion passes unanimously.
I just wanna, while we're here, I just wanna, again, commend Ceasefire for coming in and taking on this challenge. We were the first one in the state, if you go back and read on their website, where they did this, the first county in the state, where they did, some of this fiber to home, and made such a big push in our area, and you can see that they continue to expand, in not just 4, but in 5 and a lot of other districts, so very excited to see that, very appreciative.
They're continually building on, like I said, people ask about fiber, and I tell them as fast as they can get it.
Well, they're definitely looking out at,
Sure.
in your, y'all's areas too, I mean, in all areas, you know.
They did a phase, and now they're looking at a second phase, they won't say exactly what, but, so I think they're gonna connect all the way to Highway 12 and go all the way out to Longview, so
Yeah,
no confirmation on that, but, that's coming sooner rather than later.
I think so too.
Credit card charges for the month, $24.50, and I'll make a pay for that.
Motion by Supervisor Montgomery, second by Supervisor Howard. Are there any questions concerning that motion? All those in favor, let it be known by the proper voting sign. Motion passes unanimous.
And the last thing I have is the claims docket. Claims number 2693658 in the amount of $1,655,123.51.
Motion by Supervisor Montgomery. Second by myself. Any questions concerning the motion?
I didn't understand one section on me, I guess it's just cause I don't understand. And that's something related, that's on page 22. City Stars Club, and it's for Shell Road, that.
Yeah, that's gonna be for we collect, property taxes and tags and everything from the citizens of Sparkville. When they settle it out, any of those dollars that's paid by city residents for the road millage tax we have on, the city gets half of it.
I don't know, while we're talking about, tax collecting and, Attorney Roberts and talk about this a little bit, but, there's fixing to be some additional funding coming in for cities, which means Sturgis, Maven, Starkville, and then of course like Tillhall County. And I know we do the road work in, the Sturgis area, but I would like to make sure that, and do a lot of work in the Maven area. But when that money comes in, it really is allocated for those cities. And I just wanna make sure when it starts coming in, that the board is aware of that and actually earmarks that amount of money to be used in that area instead of just consumed in the general fund. Because those cities, I don't know if Maven will get theirs individually. I have a feeling that we will probably get, Sturgis, because we do their, road work and do a lot of the Maven road work, but I think that it would be important when that legislation starts, that
State law
money.
requires it to be used for it's actually intended, right, that was what it was
The
intended
road,
for, right.
yeah.
It is, but I'm just saying, when it comes in,
Allocate.
I think it's about 10,000 for these communities. And I just wanna make sure that the board is aware of that, and when it does come in, that it is actually allocated for those communities and not just consumed in the general fund for overall.
So that is gonna be for that town, you could say municipalities, that'd be for their city streets, has to be done on the roads.
It's part of that last legislation, you wanna talk about that just a little bit more, please?
Basically, it was set up where the counties and the cities are gonna start splitting some of these fundings, but there was a minimal amount. Maven and Sturgis, the approximation should be getting around 10,000 apiece. But however, I really don't know if that funding is gonna be sent directly to Maven and Sturgis, or if that funding in Sturgis, especially Sturgis' situation, if it'll be sent directly to us. So we're just gonna have to, I guess, try to pay attention to this. But I mean, there's so many needs in Maven and there's so many needs in Sturgis that I don't think there's gonna be a huge problem finding allocation for, those. But we're also, as a county, gonna get, an allocation as well. And to be honest, it could, if this works the way we're hoping it will work, it could almost double what we're actually getting currently. So the reality is that hopefully we're gonna have some funding for each of you to be able to make sure that you're taking care of your districts better and that kind of thing. So it's not only is it gonna help Sturgis, to the tune of about 10,000, and Maven to the tune of about 10,000, but, it's gonna substantially help each of you in your districts. And I say in your districts, we're supposed to be working all as one group and determining what our needs are and kind of going from there. But, it's gonna mean a substantial amount of funding.
It's additional county allocation, but then it's also broken down into city allocation. And so, because we do the roads for Sturgis, but, you know, it's specified for cities. And so I just wanted to make sure, and Maven, you know, so when that money does start coming down, if it is sent into the general fund in our budget, that we make sure that we,
How about we create a line item for
that,
I think it's going in the road budget, I think I have to put it in the road budget if we're talking about the internet sales. Is that what we're talking about?
No, we're talking about the legislation that was passed during the special session, for the additional funding.
So was the funding so attached to the lottery or the internet?
It is.
Okay.
The lottery?
Yes. So that will be, you know, lottery tickets went on sale, so that will be,
Get somebody.
scratch offs out.
That's internet sales. Internet sales, rather than lottery. We don't get a lot of money. We get internet money, internet sales money.
It's gonna be phased in, that internet money.
Yes, phased in,
25%, 50%,
25%.
70, and 100.
But we get 15% of that 25% for the first 4 years.
Well,
We don't get 15%.
We're gonna actually get, for the scratch offs and the numbers that are statewide, we're gonna get a percentage of that, and then it's also gonna be tied into that internet, so you're both right.
It's internet sales that's gonna bring about the money, because we got probably about 400 million money available now for internet sales. So that internet sales is where the big money is at, that's gonna be coming into the county.
I hope we get.
Internet
Let's get it
sales,
all.
internet sales tax is where the big money is gonna be.
That's what I thought with internet sales was gonna be the next one. And
Well,
then-
it's both.
It's coming in
Like,
phases. But thank you.
It's gonna be
on-
phased in.
Because our counties, like I said, all the time people are asking, when you gonna do this, when you gonna do that? And just like Orlando said, it's a funding issue. You know, we get 6% of the fuel tax, and we've got 70% of the roads, and, you know, statewide.
Y'all have an uphill battle constantly trying to budget for the roads that you're trying to maintain. And hopefully, some of this will help in putting not just October County, but all of our counties in a better position to take care of this. But the intent, the legislation was to put this money back in the spots that, I mean, you know where your needs are. And not have the legislature trying to tell you exactly where to spend it. So that was the intent.
This will help the whole state.
All right.
Can we get approval for the claims document? All those in favor, let it be known by the public vote, same. All those opposed, same. 4 approvals and 1 recusal. All right, anything else, Ms. Garrett?
No, sir.
All right, Mr. Bagley, you can come forward at this time. Good morning, sir.
Does anyone have any questions about the, report? Can bring up
Any questions, comments, concerns about our
Well, I have
road report?
yeah, I have
Yes, sir.
a comment, and we are having problems getting those light poles removed off Fielders Road. And I'm sure you're aware of that. And we've been trying to get that done for, I would think, more than a year, going on 2 years. Because we've been talking to them about it for quite some time, and I'm talking to you, Attorney Robinson.
Yes, sir.
Because it's gonna be your responsibility, I believe, to move forward with some type of correspondence. And should that go to AT&T or should that go to Fort County?
Oh, AT&T, Fort County has done their work.
Fort County has already done their work, and we constantly telling AT&T to do what they should do. But those light poles are still in our way and we can't move forward. So if you would produce some type of correspondence to AT&T, asking them to move forward, remove the light pole, so we can move forward doing what we need to do to finish the construction work on Fields Road. And if you would get in touch with Mr. Baggett, and he of course will have all the knowledge about who to talk to, who to write to. I've been calling them, Mr. Baggett been calling, but we can't get anything done.
Have they had any response whatsoever as far as what they're saying, or are they just giving you a runaround?
They giving us a runaround, I believe. Would you like to, do you have any response to that?
I feel like they are giving us the runaround. One time it was engineering, one time they were waiting for Fort County moved in and they pushed engineering up some, and so.
How long has it been since when we gave them notice that it needed to be moved?
Initially, it was, well, initially started on the road.
That's
I have to
been,
admit.
that's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a while. I mean, I can look at the records in the office.
You and I'll talk and kinda, I wanna get a timeline so that I can give them a heads up, cause if they don't do something, then we'll do something for them.
Okay.
The same thing happened on another road that was under construction, and we damaged some of their, wires. And I think they want to bill the county because of that, but they were asked to remove, all of their wires and things like that, but they didn't do it, move slow on the issue.
This was in our right.
Yeah, in our right of way, that's right. This one is in our right of way. These are on the road itself and within our right of way.
I'll shake the tree.
Shake the tree, I like that.
How much longer is, mosquito spray season? I notice we're still doing that. It's pretty cold now.
I'll put a note in here that we just stopped, right on the mosquito spraying. I think I put in there that it's no longer going on.
If y'all can recall, some time ago, there was a mobile home that was abandoned in the roadway up in Rock Hill. That was some time ago. And the county had to take immediate action and get the mobile home removed out of the roadway. And what we did, road department came in and moved the mobile home onto some right of way, that's really under the authority of TVA. But at the same time, the property owners adjacent to that particular area, they're concerned about it. We have not been able to go back and complete that project due to we've been working on other things. But it was abandoned in the middle of the road and we had to move it. And so I think it's only fitting that whenever we get some time, we go back and I think you may even have a call about it from one of the property owners. And, but I think, I would like to see the road department, whenever they get time, to go back and either burn it or remove it or do something with it, because we did.
Swiss Highway, basically.
Well, if you wanna say that, we were responsible for moving it out the road.
Maybe the volunteer fire department could take that on as a.
Well, see, and I've asked that about burning something, and because of liability reasons, training fires, that's the new thing, they're not, in other words, a training fire will get a lawsuit on you in a heartbeat.
And we've had some help, because some people have come by and tried to do a little, get a little metal off.
That's what I was gonna say.
I'm gonna say, you can free to a good crowd.
Yeah, they got a little bit, and maybe as we get closer to Christmas, they may get the rest of it, but it's still gonna leave a pile that it needs to be probably burned. Well, it needs to be removed. And so I'm hoping that whenever we can go back and get that removed. But I know the property owner, the adjacent property owner is, concerned about it, and it does make the area look bad, seeing a mobile home just sitting there, abandoned.
Crush that thing up and put it in a truck, it won't take much.
I like it done.
Crush a mobile home up, you'll be amazed how loose it is.
Attorney Robinson recommend that we pass an order that we can go ahead and address this issue. Motion by Supervisor Montgomery, second by Supervisor Howard. Any questions concerning the motion? And the motion would be, for the disposal, removal of abandoned mobile home. Rocky Road. All those in favor, let me know by the vote. Motion passes unanimously. One other thing I have too, and you all may have the same thing, I'm sure you do in your district. After this last rain event, it has come to my attention that just about every cross drain, probably in the county, that is functional, probably needs some attention after the water goes underneath the road and goes where it goes. I've got 2 more requests today where we need to actually get onto the private property and do some work to make sure that the water goes and flows properly, and also make sure that it gets out to keep people's property from being damaged. And you all may have the same, I'm sure y'all got the same thing in your district. And a lot of it is based upon the fact that we just been overwhelmed and we just have not had an opportunity to really keep those flows open and clear. And the county has grown up in so many different places that it looks like to me that the next term I'm gonna have to really look at some major projects of getting off the right of way and getting the county, when we got time, to go in there, kind of open this stuff up so stuff can flow.
We need to do a major drainage project.
And so,
Not do all kind of-
but I got 2 addresses today. I wanna go ahead and spread them on the minutes. I know we probably won't be able to get to them until whenever, but at least the landowner will give me some relief, a reprieve as far as concern about it. One is at 268 Reverend Ware Road, on the property for Roxanne and Leonard Ware. And the other one is at 4142 16th Section Road, property owner for Ted Jones. Do you all have any others that you all know of right now?
Well, I want to ask about that, President Hunter, because when I was out, I had a couple of people ask me, that they're seeing the county go on some private property. And my, response to them was it has to be something that's negatively affecting the county road. We couldn't go on and fix our drainage issue on private property. So is that still the standards that we're going by, that it has to be something that is affecting the, the road bed? For example, I know that we got an AG opinion, you remember, to go in and do some work off of a gravel road in the county. But that was, the AG approved it because it was not the private property's owner that was having an issue. It was because it was washing out the county road. So are those what these requests are?
In my opinion, now if the board wants to go out and physically look at it and make an assessment of it, whatever's fine. All I'm trying to do is do what I can within my purview to address the situation. And if the board decides that they don't want to address that, then of course, then that's as far as I can go. But I know we got.
I'm just asking the legal part of it, and Attorney Roberts, you can answer that.
That's exactly right. I mean, if it affects our drainage, if it affects our road, if it affects that construct of our roadway, the problem that, and this gets kind of strange because I'll give an example, and I won't say any names, but y'all probably will all know what I'm talking about. There was a section of road that was a bunch of trees cut down, and after those trees were cut down, it created a flooding situation into small apartments. The question that I have, and of course this is something that we all need to address, these are all drainage issues that we're running into more and more and more. And the question is gonna be, whether it be that situation or whether it be a situation of how far off of the roadbed do you go whenever it starts affecting your flooding of your actual road, the flooding of your actual ditch. And I've actually asked the question of the Attorney Generals, and they won't give you an answer. They're basically stating that those are the kinds of things that we have to make that decision on. And in all honesty, these are kind of hard to figure out.
Well, I just ask because, even in this term, in prior times, we've actually sent the pictures to the Attorney General and gotten the okay that it was
Right.
legal for us to do that.
And
So
generally
when
they will.
So when a constituent says, well, how come they're working on this man's property and they're not working on mine? We can say, well, the Attorney General deemed that was negatively affecting a county road.
Their trigger on a lot of this is gonna be what this board deems to be affecting their roadway. And they're not gonna backtrack on that, because they don't know what y'all know. They don't know how effective it's gonna be or whatever. So the general consensus, as I can tell, is there's not gonna be a whole lot that they turn down unless it's so blatantly obvious it doesn't. My take on some of this is that whatever standard y'all come up with, whatever that is, we just stick with whatever that standard is, and I'm not suggesting to you what that standard should be. But if it is to turn it into the AG's office, or if it is to y'all determine it and then we deal with it as we come along. From my perspective, I just need to know how we're going to proceed with it.
I think it's, you know, for a citizen that is seeing county go work on somebody else's private property and they would like them to come work on yours, I think when we bring these things to the board, we need to have proper documentation. I think that would be pictures that, if the question ever came up that said, okay, it's flooding our road out, and that's the reason we have to go and do this. And I think that just protects every supervisor as we move forward to make those assessments, you know, as a board, that we're not doing favors for one citizen and not for another. Because citizens do see that. I mean, they see if somebody is not on the right of way working for the county. So I think that it's important that we do establish some type of guidelines where we have some type of documentation. That's just my opinion, because I've had several people when I've been out campaigning asking how come the county was on somebody else's private property and how come you won't come work on mine. And I think that there needs to be a legitimate reason. And in this particular case, I could say, well, we actually, the attorney at the time, sent it off. We had an AG opinion. The pictures were documented, and that's the reason the county was allowed to go in on this private property, because it was flooding out a county road every time the water backed up. That's my perception of how we need to handle it, so this doesn't get into something where, you know, there's any question about what the Board of Supervisors doing on county right of way versus what they're doing on private property.
Whether a storm event affects a road is gonna depend on the intensity of the storm. If you got a 25-year storm, it's probably not gonna affect it. But if you get a 50, 75-year storm like we did the past weekend, most of the roads, especially in low-lying areas, are gonna be affected. And I noticed that because I was trying to justify going in and cutting ditches out. But after seeing the storm from last weekend, it's not difficult to do when it's a 50-year, 75-year storm. 10-year, 25-year storm, you can't tell, but we seem to be getting more of these storms because we've had 2 this year. And it really affects the roads. And so, I totally agree with what you're saying, because it's really gonna fall back on me. I mean, why are you in there? And I don't wanna go in there if I'm not supposed to be there. But when we have a 50-year event, it's gonna affect a lot of roads that normally wouldn't.
So would that be, in other words, what Supervisor Miller is saying, in these addresses, can you go get pictures that you could bring to the board? In other words, you could even put this in the back of your, in other words, work that's off the right of way, maybe have a new category. And you could put the photos of, hey, I did this at 101 Main Street.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea, because I don't feel comfortable just going out and digging a ditch across somebody's property.
What you can do, if a supervisor brings a request, like Supervisor Trainer just did, I've got this issue and it's affecting the road. If the board feels comfortable, you can say, okay, road manager and 2 other supervisors, go look at it, make a determination. Because once you make a determination that it is in fact affecting the road, then all you gotta do is get a right of entry agreement to go in and do the work. But if it'll make you feel more comfortable having other eyes put on it, rather than taking, I
I think
think,
it's more the perception of what the citizens are seeing.
that's fine,
And
you
the
know,
legal,
citizens.
where they question what the legal is.
I know, but a
Yes, sir.
citizen, if they see a piece of equipment off the right of way, they've got this perception anyway. But if I brought a request and there's any question about it, it's okay, road manager, you and 2 other supervisors go take a look at this before you go in and do it and make a determination. Then whether a citizen says, whatever they say, as long as it's been determined that we need to go in and do it and we got the proper paperwork, that's just something then. But I understand what you're saying, just going in and doing something that is not affecting it, yeah, that can cause a problem. I don't disagree with that, but I'm saying, in order to cover the person, to cover our road manager, to cover this board, then maybe you put in a process to where the road manager and 2 supervisors.
And I think, that's all I was asking. I think, prior we did have a process, a little bit more of a process. I remember several times when we brought things, to the board, and, you know, we had pictures and AG opinions and all that kind of stuff, so we had documentation to protect from the road manager to the employees, to the supervisors. This was a justifiable action because it actually was affecting the county road, not just improving the citizens' property. And I think that's what we need to be, make sure that we always stay within the guidelines of what we're supposed to be doing.
Well, we've always done that. We used to do work based upon verbal approval. And I'm just trying to figure out how did everything just all of a sudden change to the point where we can't do what we need to do to serve and help people. Because I thought that's what the intention of us being on this board was to do. Now, hey, I know sometimes things may look one way, but the intent of what we're trying to do, I think that when you all go out and bring recommendations back to the board, I think you're sincerely trying to address the situation the best way you can. And so, it kind of goes back to what the attorney said, whatever this board decides, if this board decides that it wants to address some of those problems, you know, we can. If it decides that if we don't, by virtue of the fact of not having a majority opinion, then it can't go any further. And I don't think you're gonna be able to find an AG opinion out there, because basically that's all it is. It will be an opinion that could possibly be challenged based upon the dynamics of the situation. And it still comes back to, you know, whatever this board decides that, you know, that it wants to do.
And part of this, I don't wanna leave this, just because we have an AG's opinion, it will not protect us. It won't protect me, rather, let me phrase it, because I'm the one that's asking for it. It won't protect my opinion. I can still be wrong in what's being stated, and unfortunately, the road manager can have the same effect. Just because we have it doesn't necessarily mean, because here again, it's all in how I ask the question sometimes, so I have to be careful. Even I try to give as much information as I can, but all of that being said, if the auditor's office came back in, they could still say, Rob, you were wrong, and that's on me at that point.
My point to this is not that we don't wanna address any issues we need to get addressed, but my point is that to make sure that we have the proper documentation, so if audit department does come back in and says, we say, okay, well, here are the pictures, this is why it was washing our roadway.
Only thing they're gonna look for is that board order. They said you got the authority to be on that property, and they'll look for that right away entry agreement. And once they look at that, that's it. Now, if you don't have those, you're gonna be in trouble.
I think the middle ground is just put, in other words, if you have work that's off the right of way, just put it in there, have some pictures to back it up, and then when we look at the road manager's report, you can have the ability to discuss it, you know what I'm saying?
Well, you have to get approval before you actually get on the property, don't you?
Correct, right of entry, yeah.
And board order?
And you know, it's not like a supervisor coming here and request in the middle of the summer when it's dry to go. I mean, this is right after a huge storm with a bunch of debris has washed in. I mean, I understand what you're saying, but, you know, sometimes you have to look at the timing of an issue too.
What if the water runs beneath it runs through the cross drain onto someone else's property, and they say, okay, your water is flooding my property, and if you put a ditch over there, I'm not defending this, I'm just saying this is what they tell me, and I have to try to say something. I mean, what do you say to that? I mean, what do I say? I'm just asking.
Let's talk about, let's specifically need to talk about, let's talk about Courthouse Road and that creek that runs all the way down from, that's all the water that's coming from in town. And it's running down that one, it's running through that one box culvert right there. That water is running all the way down from inside, all the water from city is running right there and it's running through that box culvert. So, you know, if somebody's property, this doesn't happen, you know, every time it rains. It happens when we have these torrential downpours. I mean, it even flooded the cemetery this time. I mean, completely flooded the cemetery this time. So it didn't take long after it quit raining for the water to flow on through. You know, but I think those are the kind of issues as we move forward with these agreements with the, cleaning the creeks out and those types of things. I think those types of things may help, but when you have these torrential rains like this, you're gonna have some flooding, period. I mean, I don't know how you're not going to. I know my yard was flooded. You know, I mean.
I guess what Supervisor Trail was saying, the debris has stopped it up and causing the water to back out on the road, or not leave the road, is what I'm thinking now. That's
So
the
the
type of
debris is,
request.
the debris is backed up from the water pushing it back
I
on
don't
private
know,
property.
I'm just saying I brought one in a couple of months ago for Sun Creek Road, and the water was sitting on both sides of the road, just sitting there. Because the beavers had dammed it up off the right of way out there, so the water couldn't leave, so it was causing base failures. So we had to go in and break the beaver dam up so the water could flow through our forest drain and off of the road. And we approved it, got a right of entry agreement, and went in and actually let the water off of the road. So I guess that's similar to what he's saying.
I understand, and then, you know, you wonder as we move forward, because we do seem to be having more drainage issues, and it is development, which is a positive, you know, but it is that these creeks are having to handle more water flow. You know, do we need to look at building some
Well,
areas
now,
where we have
this
some
wasn't a creek, this was
retention ponds?
a
as well.
pond, a couple of ponds that beavers had.
We just backed it up.
Backed the pond up,
Swollen.
back out on the road, so it wasn't a creek that we went in and cleaned out. We went on some private property to open up our outlet.
Well, don't we have beaver agreements, was that part of that?
Johnny
No?
did that.
That's for beavers, to catch beavers now. Johnny don't have equipment to go in and.
Knock it down.
Right.
Would you like to move forward, like table that until you get additional information about what your?
I say we can move forward, but if we, only that we can do is go ahead and get the approval for it, and it's gonna be it's gonna be a project that's not gonna be able to be done right now. It's gonna be a later project we're gonna get done, but I wanna go ahead and make a move and kind of get it to the next step, because I've been receiving a lot of.
I'm not saying that, I just would like for us to have, like last time with the gun club, you brought pictures and documentation. My personal view is that I would like to have some documentation for the board, before we move forward on these projects.
I mean, that's not a problem.
Let's move forward
Did
now.
we vote on that yet?
No, we haven't.
Can I add one to that, because I've gotten the right of entry agreement to you on Frysock Road.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, it was the very back of it that, you know, it was flooding the back of the road out in this poor lady and gentleman's yard. It's 454 Frysock Road. I've already gotten the right of entry, I'm gonna put it in the form of a board order to, all it is the culvert needs replacing, and a ditch has some trees about that big around from probably here to the clock, maybe a little further, that needs to, the mini excavator can dig out. I'll get some pictures, I'll have them next time.
So we got a motion and a second for all three of those projects. I've made the motion, you can make the second,
With documentation.
with documentation.
I'll get it, yes, by the next board meeting, I'll go take pictures to them.
So Mr. Bag, you can't move forward till you get proper documentation.
I'll go get you some photos.
Okay.
All those in favor, let it be known by the public vote sign. Motion passes unanimously. Anything else from Mr. Bag?
Yeah, since we, Poorhouse Road, and I did go out to Poorhouse Road when it did flood out real bad out there. I think one of the biggest problems with Poorhouse is the size of the covets that going into the driveways. And those covers are too small to accommodate all of that water flow that's coming down, going toward. Now, we have there are two creeks on Poorhouse Road that could accommodate that water flow. But the water's not making it to those two creeks. It's jumping the covets and it's getting on the roads. I'm gonna recommend that Mr. Baggett consider looking into the possibility of getting larger covers on those driveways to better accommodate that water flow. And if you could come back to the board and with some kind of recommendation as to how we can get that water flow down to those two creeks. Because that's a bad thing because that cemetery did flood out. And that's the first time I've seen a cemetery flooded out. But it gets real bad in that area. And I think it's because of the size of the covers.
To your point, like I said, I think, and this is something to discuss with your foreman, is, in other words, let's say we're going down some Creek Road or whatever road we're going down. If the ditch needs an 18-inch culvert or a 24-inch culvert, and that needs to be the standard down that ditch. Just from years past, what I've noticed, you'll have a 30-inch culvert, then you'll have an 18, and then you might have 18, and then another 30-inch culvert. Well, it's only gonna flow at an 18-inch capacity because it's constricted in the middle. So that's food for thought for the foreman, is keep it consistent, down that road, the diameter of our culvert.
And we talked about this storm too, this last time. The leaves have fallen. A lot of people have it right at their yards,
Blowing them into the ditch.
If they're blowing them into the ditch, they're stopping the culverts up. So there's a lot of cleaning that needs to go back on that. But that box culvert, Mr. Baggett, on Blackjack Road, we had talked about, needing to put a mini excavator down in there, like it's been done in the past.
Mm-hmm.
There's a piece of a tree still down in there.
You mean on Poorhouse?
On Poorhouse, yes, sir. There's a box culvert, and in prior years, what they would do is they would take a traco or something and lower something down in there to clean that out, because there is a piece of a tree that's still stuck in there, and it's silted in a lot. So we had talked about this a while back, if they get a chance,
Yeah, we got
before winter gets here, to get down in that box culvert, I think that would help too.
Simon, the foreman over there, and I talked about getting a Bobcat going up in that box cover, cleaning it up.
Okay, thank you.
I have one other thing in relation to the flood. This was a real bad flood this time. And this is the second one, I think, in recent time. What we are experiencing, however, is when the workers go out and they remove the debris from the covet, they leave the debris there. They just basically rake it out of the covet, and it's there to be washed back into the same covet, the same debris, the next time it rains. So we just kind of working ourselves twice at that same covet area. My recommendation is that we start removing that debris, not just pull it out of the covet and leave it there inside the covet area for it to wash back into the covet the next time, and right back out there again, cleaning that same covet out. And I don't know whether I need to do a motion to that effect or what, but that's what I'm experiencing, that they are not actually removing the debris. So I'm gonna offer a motion to that. It might not work, but I motion that we ask the farmers to remove the debris once they get the debris out of the covered area, that they will actually load that debris on the truck and haul it away.
And that's the same thing with the trees that are being cut down and just dropped on the edge of the tree line.
Yeah.
As they die, those leaves just run down. I've seen a lot of that here lately in my district, so I definitely will support that.
I don't have an issue with that at all, but what we're facing is a longer term issue.
Sure.
Because if you go and clean out one cover, and 3 or 4 covers down the line, you got a stopped up cover, mashed in old cover, you're not gonna ever solve that problem until you start at the beginning of one of your roads, go all the way down through, change all your covers, get your proper drainage, and open up all your outlets. That, if you ride around this county, there used to be outlets that would shed the water off the road, but just about every one of those outlets has now grown up. That's why I said, we need to do a major drainage issue, because those leaves you're talking about now, if you go along that and you put in the proper covers all the way through, and everything is open, it'll blow those leaves on through. Those leaves won't stop up, but it's not gonna change anything until you, and we all bad about, trying to put out hot spots. But until we get serious and do a comprehensive plan, a comprehensive drainage plan in this county, we still gonna be spinning our wheels. And a comprehensive plan is gonna entail starting at the beginning of a road, letting our crews get on a road, starting at the beginning, go all the way through that road and put in proper fall, proper cover, proper outlets, clean out, and then those leaves will blow straight on through there. They won't ever stop up in that ditch. But that's what I understand what you're saying about removing it.
Yeah,
But if we really wanna do something, we need a comprehensive drainage plan, in this county.
I'm talking about doing something now that we can affect the problem
Yeah.
right now. And it wouldn't take a lot of effort, it's just that rather than raking it out of the covered area, just load it on the truck. It wouldn't take a lot of more work to load it on and out of the way, so it won't wash back in the same cover.
So my understanding of this order would be, in essence, anything that we clean out, we cut, and we remove it.
Right. Out of the covered now, we're talking about out of the covered area.
Well, I think she said something about when we cut trees or something like
Yeah,
that.
we've, if you drive along O25, you'll see where they cut trees back.
Yeah.
And French Springs and a lot of other areas. And so, they're, as they die, they're just gonna fill the ditches up.
So we got a motion second, and we'll discuss. All those in favor, let it be known by the proper vote. Anything else from Mr. Back? If not, let's get a motion second to accept his road manager report.
So move.
First by Supervisor Howard, second by Supervisor Montgomery. All those in favor, let it be known by the proper vote. Ayes have it. Supervisor Miller, do you have anything out of this report?
I just wanted to, echo, what Dr. Rogers said. Somebody can reach out, and that's, part of the contract, and what they've been doing is topping those trees out first, and then taking them down, because they're so large, one section at a time. They did go in and grade the road last week too, which I was grateful for that, but there is a lot of debris, and it is closer to the roadway when you first turn off of Highway 25. The other thing on that is, it seems to be the utility company is not moving as quick as they need to move about moving the utilities. So we need to go ahead and address that. I stopped and talked to the foreman last week that were working on that road. And can we please go ahead and, get that addressed with whomever, to ask them to, because we're 200 days left on that contract, and we don't need anything slowing it down, and we need the utilities to start getting the utility company to start getting those utilities moved, please.
Is that the engineer's project?
Well, it is, but I was just gonna ask him to,
Do we need to put some formal correspondence out to them?
I would like to put some formal correspondence for us to ask, our county engineer to address that, please. And however we need to do that.
Motion by Supervisor Miller, second by Supervisor Montgomery. Are there any questions on the motion? All those in favor, let it be known by the proper vote. Motion passed unanimously. Anything?
No, sir.
Supervisor Williams, have anything?
Well, I've enjoyed the opportunity to go to the Mississippi Rural Broadband Summit. They had it took place, being put on by Mississippi State University Extension Service the outreach program, Dr. Loper. And I think Dr. Loper is gonna be able to provide a lot of research and a lot of information about how we really can move forward. How we really can move forward by providing broadband internet service, to the rural. And, sometimes we don't have a clear definition in terms of what really broadband is. Broadband, according to the federal government, is 25.3. If you would keep that in mind, 25.3. That means 25 megabytes per second download and 3 megabytes per second upload. Now that's megabytes per second. That, you might look at that and say 25.3 is not a whole lot when you in terms of megabytes per second. Cause there are some like C-Spire and other companies providing a whole gig. And a gig is 1,000 megabytes per second. So, but the federal government are providing grant money. They are grant fund, so we're gonna see more internet in the rural taking place because the federal government are providing grant money for providers to bring internet to the rural. In addition to that, there are individuals who would not be able to afford internet service. There are grant money too available from the federal government to help them pay for their internet service called Lifeline grants to help them pay for their internet service. So you're gonna see where more individuals are gonna be providing internet service because the federal government are providing grant money to make it happen. I provided a booklet to all of you, I think the extension service has a lot of additional information in terms of how we can make it happen. So I leave this book here. I think you didn't see it.
Thank you, sir.
But I thought the workshop, the summit was very productive. I've been able to contact some individuals and start providing internet service in my area to my constituents, and I'm still working on it now. So the summit was good for me.
Thank you, Supervisor. Anything else? Supervisor? Supervisor?
I did, one more thing, I just wanted to thank, the sheriff's department, with, Sheriff Flapping is sitting in here, and their help on investigating the illegal dumping on Hunt and Sharp Road. Did a great job, was able to dig through the trash and find out, some constituents that were not using their trash service that they have. And, also for the county and Miss Emily for that program to get those dump areas kicked up. So I just wanted to thank you, Sheriff Flapping and your officers for the help on that.
And thank you for calling that individual and getting him to clean that one. Thank you for calling that individual and getting him to clean that one up.
Well, he probably didn't appreciate my phone call, but he probably appreciated it more than public exposure.
One other thing I wanted to bring to the board's attention, for those of you all who may can recall, there's an effort which is being led by the mayor, Lynn Spruill, as it relates to the conversion of the railroad track into a possible rails to trail opportunity. And we did have a meeting a couple of weeks ago down at the PED with several of the cities and counties who have territory that's along that route. And at this point, there was a consensus amongst the board, the group rather, to ask the counties and cities that would be affected by this to consider passing a resolution of support, this effort. And so my question to the board this morning is, would you all consider passing a very, just a simple resolution of support, for that effort? Should this effort materialize, it will be a long process. I think the last one they did in the Pond Top took maybe 12 years before it actually became a reality. But the mayor is really excited and really thinks it will be a great benefit to Starkville. And I seem to think it'll be a great enhancement to Octavia County too, when you look at the size and scope. But now there's always two sides to every coin. that railroad line, although it has been not as active, the county does receive, and the county, city, and I think all the entities that have property along that route, they do receive some funding for that. But at the same time, the railroad has not made that a high priority route because they don't have anything that's traveling there now. So if the board would consider that, that would be something I think that would be good to help go in this process. And basically, the letter of support, I can give the attorney a copy of the letter. They already have a copy of the letter that was drafted.
I think so, but we'll get together.
So if the board would mind passing a letter of support on that.
Did you all talk about the money that, if this is actually turned into rails to trails, the money that we're receiving now, would we be able to recoup that money? Did y'all?
Well, we didn't get that far along, but we did make mention of it, that if the railroad decided to, because there's two ways to approach it. First of all, the railroad system could abandon, the rail line. If they did that, it goes back to the property owner, and that becomes a very difficult, cumbersome process. Or they could go to this system that the mayor referred to as railroad banking. What that would mean that they would still have the right to actually reassume it should industry or something come up on their route where they want to put it back in activity.
But they wouldn't be obligated then to pay those taxes?
Probably not.
That they're paying.
We don't know. Probably not, but now there are some other funding sources that come along with it. And I think Randy Kelly with 3 Rivers Planning Development District, he was telling us about some other funding sources that they get. But I'm thinking it would have some impact on the amount of money that you get based upon, the rail service that could possibly be out there. And I think we get, what is it, 80,000 between all of us?
Yeah, 85,000 this year.
And so they paid, I know for the last 20 years, since I've been in office, the railroad line has not been utilized very much. And so you just think we probably generated just $1 million off it and over that period of time. And just sitting there. But the flip side of it is it's becoming to be, it was a challenge for me with Pastage Road. But we finally, I hope they don't come into bite, but we finally were able to get the road done. Basically, dealing with the railroad is quite a task.
I came to that meeting with President Trainer, and since I've left that meeting, I do have, I guess, some other questions I would like to know the answers to. In other words, if it did go from rails to trails, I think it was my understanding, of course, we would have to maintain it, the city would have to maintain their portion, but also the railroad could come back and reopen it, so that would leave us in a precarious situation. In other words, how if we did put down that trail, I think it was a 10-foot track, and they did come back, I think we'd still be on the hook for that, and they would just take what we had done and push it to the side and open that rail back up. So there's a lot of options there. I'd still like to have some more discussion on it. It was just a preliminary meeting as to how we all felt. And I think it'd be a good thing, but at the same time, we as a county need to examine all the pros and cons of it. So we're still in the infancy stage.
But this would just be a resolution to say move forward with the investigation?
We're okay.
Trying to let the power
that we know we are interested.
that we're interested in.
Okay.
And then like Supervisor McGovern was saying, if it gets to be that involved, there would have to be a board, commission, and all that stuff established. And it gets to be very detailed. So it seems to be something that has a lot of potential to it. So at this point, we just wanted to do a little bit further due diligence.
Yeah, I would like to eventually see a cost analysis of it, because you really have to pay to actually, there's gonna be some cost to actually change it. They change it from rail to trail.
Oh, yeah.
That could be a lot of money.
Well, there's some grant funding. We were discussing that. There are pots of money that you can capture from that. But again, very early stages. This is just say we're interested in the discussion. But I'm like you, Supervisor Williams. It can be expensive.
In some instances, the counties have put on millions for the maintenance and support of it.
Somebody's gotta maintain, and it costs money. And unless, you can't charge to get on the rails, the trails to get out. It's gonna be up on the taxpayers to have to maintain it.
So it's a lot of moving
For
parts there.
investigation, though, right?
Yeah, this is not a commitment at all.
Resolution to investigate the support.
Or this resolution of support in relation to the efforts.
I don't have a problem with the resolution.
Attorney Robinson, I think he'll fix it up real nice.
Before we pull the trigger, we need to make a
Yeah, need a motion. Motion by Supervisor Miller, second by Supervisor Montgomery. All those in favor, let it be known by the appropriate vote, say. Motion passes to them. Do you have anything you need?
Real quick. Y'all, we have all the easements that are needed for Blackjack Road. The only thing we're kinda waiting on now, hallelujah, is the utilities. Apparently utilities are gonna be our issues for the future that have to be dealt with all of our road issues, but we are working on the utilities. But I did wanna give y'all a heads up that we've gotten, where we needed to be on the easements.
So, Blackjack Water Association.
Sir.
Blackjack Water Association, have you been in contact with?
Actually, I talked to, and I didn't know this, I talked to the president, yes, sir, and, apparently Miss Harris and my paralegal and him knew each other quite well, and that we got in and discussed everything. He signed what he needed to sign off on.
Good deal. So it's good.
I think that's a headline tomorrow. The easements for Blackjack Road have been attained.
Now, some of these have not been filed, but I did talk with them.
The Longview Road is on it.
Yes.
Make sure you put Blackjack on top.
Hey, look at the headline.
That's all I need.
Right. Reminder, we do have a Veterans Day parade, this Saturday. I think it's sponsored by, I know KMG Creations is kind of the coordinator, but it has several different sponsors that's involved in it. I want to encourage those who will participate in that and be a part of that.
And the parade actually starts at 11, and it's all gonna get started at Unity Park, I believe.
And I would like to say I really enjoyed working with every member of the board, and I'm looking forward to our continued working together.
Good deal, good luck to
Wish everybody
everybody.
the best of success on tomorrow. Be safe. Anything else to come before anybody before we?
Just be reminded, we got a trial going on next door, so when everybody leaves, just keep it down. Alright? Motion to adjourn.
You know, whatever God's plan.
Before I
mean, that's the
spell
way
any
you gotta do
motion,
it, right? Work hard.
there's a meeting that we've been invited to come out to Thursday to the PDD, dealing with, the GIS and some other things, that GPS that Toby wants to present to us. If you're interested in being there, it'll be Thursday at 10. We're gonna provide lunch, so. Got a motion by Supervisor Howard, second by Supervisor Montgomery, that we stand adjourned until